Have you ever heard the story of the Intel kid? It's a true story that completely blew up on Reddit. It's a perfect example of how not to invest your money. It's a story about a young junior in college who inherited 800k from his grandma. And because he knew he wouldn't need that kind of money anytime soon, he wanted to do the responsible thing and invest the money. So he decided to invest 700k into one single stock, Intel, and the other 100k into a high-yield savings account. He invested the money on 1st of August 2024. He also decided to do a Reddit post, which was titled, "I invested 700k worth of Intel stock today." And what happened after that got known as the Intel Kid story. Just one day later, on the 2nd of August, Intel reported bad earnings, which caused the stock to drop by 1/3 from $30 to $20. And although it would probably be bad enough for Intel kids to lose, 200k within one single day on the stock market, the internet didn't go easy on him. There were a couple of Reddit posts which were not exactly nice. I'm not telling this story because I want to judge Intel kid decisions. This is also not about whether or not Intel is a good or a bad investment. I'm telling this story to show you that mistakes like this happen. And they happen more often than you think. Because a lot of people, they don't want to talk about their losers. They much rather want to talk about their winners because they're embarrassed about their losers. But for you, who might just be starting out investing, I created this video so that you should be aware of 5 common investing mistakes that shouldn't happen to you early on, right? And if you stay with me until the very end, I will share one bonus mistake that happened to myself when I started out investing, which cost me a couple of thousands of dollars. So let's start with mistake number 1, not diversifying. Let's start with the obvious. Don't be like Intel Kid. If you take only one lesson out of this video, let it be diversify, diversify, diversify. Even if you're very confident about, one investment, you must always acknowledge that things can always turn out differently. Investing comes at a risk, and you gotta manage this risk. And the best way to manage this risk is not to put all your eggs into one basket. If you're just starting out, it's probably better to invest into a diversified ETF such as SPY, QQQ, or VOO. Those ETFs give you instant diversification. So now that we got this one out of the way, let's move on to mistake number 2, not using a watch list. If you want to invest into a new stock or ETF, you probably shouldn't just invest the moment it crosses your mind. You should rather first put them onto your watch list. And a watch list is great because it forces you to be more patient and be more careful. This ties directly into Warren Buffett's, greatest lessons, the so-called punch card rule.
On a few things. In fact, I've told students if when they got out of school, they got a punch card with 20 punches on it, and that's all the investment decisions they got to make in their entire life, they would get very rich because they would think very hard about each one. And you don't need 20 right decisions to get very rich. 4 or 5 will probably do it over time. So
this is basically when Warren Buffett said that if people would have a punch card of only 20 investments, and if every person could only do 20 investments throughout their whole life, they would be much more patient, take much longer to make a decision, and ultimately also make a lot better investments decision. And that's actually similar to what a watch list would help you to do. It would help you to become a lot more careful, a lot more patient and considerate, and would also help you, to be way more selective, go through your watch list and only, really invest into the stocks that you think have the most potential rather than just chasing after the next shiny stock. If you don't have a watch list yet, I highly recommend trying it out. I almost can guarantee that it will likely make you a better investor. So next up is mistake number 3, buying and selling too often. This is a mistake that many beginner investors do. And we all have been there. We invested into a stock and weeks and days later it turns red. And then beginner investors start second guessing themselves, and that's when they start selling, right? But the truth is, it's totally normal that stocks sometimes turn red, especially at the beginning, right? So there are two ways to handle this better, right? The first one is to have a more long-term mindset. So it's much better to think in quarters and years than weeks and days. This way, you don't get, too fed up by, short-term price fluctuations in the market. And the second one is only invest the money that you don't need in the stock market so that you can really wait for years for them to compound and generate returns. The market really rewards patience, right? So there's this famous saying, time in the market is more valuable than timing the market. So if you give your investment time, the compounding effect will do the heavy lifting for you. The next mistake is about not automating your investments. Many people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they're not consistent enough. And there's actually a very easy fix to that. Simply automate your investments. Just set up a direct deposit and invest into ETFs directly after you get paid. Just treat it like rent. You won't miss it and your future self will thank you. So let's move on to mistake number 5. Not doing your own research. I see many beginner investors invest into shiny stocks or YOLO into stocks they really know nothing about. So please don't do that, right? If you're too busy and don't have the time to research stocks, consider simply investing into diversified ETFs, which are much safer. Having that said, if you're interested in it, if you want to take the time to research and value your own stocks, that's completely fine. If you want to learn more about how to screen and value investments, you should check out my video up here, right? So at the beginning of this video, I also promised you one bonus mistake, which is a mistake that I did very on in my personal investment journey. The mistake number 6 is don't invest in value traps. So when you learn all about stocks and how to value a company, you get very value focused. You try to find the best and cheapest stocks for the value that they provide, right? But make no mistakes. Don't invest in something that is called a value trap. Cheap stock does not always mean good value, right? Instead of just looking for undervalued companies, try to invest in the best of the best. You will likely have more fun with them even if you have to pay a premium. So after all of these mistakes, if you're still watching, let's quickly recap. If you're a beginner investor, right, try to focus on the following things. Diversify your investment, use a watch list, think long term, automate your investments, do your research, and finally, try to avoid value traps. If you're focusing on all of those things, I promise you are already ahead of most other people that are just starting out with investing. Thank you for watching. Remember, your money deserves better. Try to be better than intricate. And other than that, happy investing.